Hello, hello. So I was sitting here in the studio waiting for Sherry, and I just heard that Pittsburgh area schools, many of them are on lockdown because of a security threat. The first three that I heard about were Catholic schools. Coincidence? Well, the good news is that the police are claiming this is a computer generated swatting, which means like a robocall. So swatting is started with gamers. So kids playing games online, they're video streaming to one another so they can see one another. The friends decide to swat their buddy. They call the police. They report that there's a person with a gun, one of those types of incidents, and then they wait for the SWAT team to bust the door down and come in with guns brandishing. So, so it's supposed to be funny, or it started that way, and it's very serious, obviously. Somebody could easily get killed. It's happened to Tim Pool several times, so now it's become malicious. And apparently, the police are saying that's what's happened in the schools, that the someone has generated a computer generated swatting, which I suppose is like a robocall. So they put in calls for various school districts saying that there's a, active shooter type situation going on. This is bad. I mean, I would say that if my children were in school, I would not panic, but I would get them out. And part of the reason it doesn't sound like it's a real thing, but there is a thing that terrorists and other criminals will do is like a diversion. I lived in a small town with one police car, and what they began to do was they would phone in a false report at one end of town and then rob an establishment at the other end of town. They knew where the one police car was. It was as far away from them as they could get. They come in, do a quick rob, and you could do something like that with terrorism too. Cause the police to become occupied with fake incidences so you can pull a real one. So I would take it seriously, but definitely don't panic. So one of the things we were going to talk about today, and it's just burning up, so I really need to talk about it. I'm reading some of the reports. There's a lot to get upset about with what's going on right now. I want to talk about the people or the rationale that this was something forced upon the LGBT community, or basically it's the victim, or it's the victim's fault that somehow the shooter is the victim. So one of the things that's going around is that there's a story which I'll talk about more about. I think Tucker ran it last night about trans people, LGBT people buying guns and learning to shoot and defend themselves. And if you look at the videos, they look like you're what the media would call your right wing extremist people. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's go into the rhetoric. So here are some of the things they're saying. Because people are using rhetoric like banning books, banning drag, don't say gay, and in the case of races, racial issues, blocking the teaching of history. So because of these things that are happening, it's creating this anti-LGBT sentiment and putting them all at risk. So it's this rhetoric that's causing the LGBT community to arm themselves and, in this case, go over the edge and actually do an attack on a school. Here's the problem. None of this rhetoric is from the people who are doing what they're claiming that they're doing. So Republicans, conservatives are not banning books. That's a mischaracterization of what they stand for, and that's a mischaracterization of the legislation. They are not banning drag. That's a lie. That's a complete mischaracterization of what the conservatives stand for, what the Republican legislation is for. Blocking the teaching of history, flat out lie. This rhetoric is a lie. Don't say gay. Complete lie, complete mischaracterization of the legislation down in Florida. So if you're telling me that this rhetoric is what's putting people at risk, it's the people who are saying it that's putting these people at risk. It's the people who are saying these lies that are the cause of this. It's not Republicans, it's not conservatives, it's Democrats, and it's the left, it's the activist types. Because none of this is a fair and accurate characterization of these people's position. So if you tell me this rhetoric is the cause, then it's the people using the rhetoric that are causing it. And where do you draw the line? Christian school was attacked yesterday. 3 children, 3 adults were killed. Innocent, completely innocent, did absolutely nothing wrong. No different than the other school shootings that have happened. We're being told through the media and through the Democrat Party that extremist, right-wing, Christian extremists even are doing all this stuff. It's anti-gay. Christians are causing this uproar, this violence against LGBT. It's a lie. Okay? Who's defending them? Why aren't they out there saying that, the stuff being said about Christians is causing this? Why is that okay? Okay, this is hypocrisy. This is worse than hypocrisy. This is an organized strategy coordinated between the left wing, the Democrat Party, and the 90% media in this country. And people are being lied to. The news is telling you what to think, and most of the people are thinking it. Most of the people believe and they see what's in the news, and it's a lie. So I agree. If this rhetoric is the cause, then let's go after the people responsible for the rhetoric. Let's go after the people that are saying it. And it's not Republicans, it's not conservatives, and it's not Christians. Now, I didn't see the Tucker Carlson segment. I saw a little piece of it. If LGBT people are arming themselves and organizing in militia style, which is what it looked to me, more power to them. Okay? That's called consistency. To sit here and say, oh, the FBI should go after these people, while then saying that they shouldn't be going after somebody else for doing the same thing is hypocrisy. I mean, somewhere in the middle is probably the truth. Okay? If people are, and I just saw a video on Twitter, there are people doing threatening things, and we do have a problem with people shooting innocent people. So when someone is on social media provocatively showing off their guns and either overtly or covertly threatening, then they should be looked into. Okay? But whether they're trans or whether they're far right, they should be looked into exactly the same. It should be the exact same standard applied to them. They both have a right to keep and bear arms. Certainly anyone in this country who feels threatened has a right to defend themselves and arm themselves. So I don't know which side of this you're on, but if you're blaming guns for what happens in our schools, but then you're saying it's okay for the trans people now to arm themselves, you're a hypocrite. Okay? If you're saying that we can't do anything about guns, it's not the guns' fault for what happened in the schools, but then you're afraid of these trans activists, then you're a hypocrite. Figure it out where you stand. And be consistent. This is what's wrong. This is the most frustrating thing for anybody with a brain about what's going on in our country. It's the hypocrisy. It's the double standards. Now, it's most prominent, it's most obvious in the national media and in politics, on the national stage. But people are doing it too. Figure out what you believe in. Figure out what you stand for and believe in it and stand for it consistently. Now, I get it, okay? I get like a satire or a sarcasm where you go, oh, well, the FBI should be investigating them. Okay, that's fine. I get it. But make sure you're obvious that you're using what Rush would have said, absurdity to illustrate absurdity. Make sure it's understood that's what you're doing. But if you're going to say the FBI should not be, I, for example, if you're saying the Proud Boys or whoever they are, if you say they're being treated too harshly, then you can't say that we should be treating these other people harshly. Just figure it out. Figure out what you really believe in. Figure out what you stand for, and stand on it. All right, I think that's all I have. I didn't prepare. That's the one topic that was just burning inside me, and that's why I decided to go live and do it without Sherry. Now, Sherry, you know, she'll probably be with me this afternoon, and we'll probably redo some of the same thing. But my pray for these people, pray for our country. I mean, in a way, this is really flaring up right now. In a way, that can be a good thing because it's hopefully going to force us. Hopefully, it's a reckoning to say, "Wake up, people! Look what you're doing." You know, regardless of what side you're committed to, you're finding yourself on the other side. That's what's happening right now. And that can be a good thing if we look at it honestly and fearlessly and we say, okay, if I'm in the wrong, I want to correct. Every single person needs to take that attitude. If I'm wrong on something or I've been wrong on something or I'm missing something, I need to correct. It's good to be wrong. That's called wisdom. When you recognize your faults and your errors and you correct them, that's what wisdom is. That's what maturity and growth is. And if you're older, like me, if you haven't been doing that, you're not going to enjoy your old age as much as I hope to. So, okay, so pray for our country. Don't pick don't pick sides. Be consistent about everything. Okay? If it's all about identity, and this is my challenge, it's all about identity, then those Christians that were killed and all Christians and Christians in school deserve the same attention and the same compassion and the same treatment as another identity, whether it's a racial minority or a gender identity. I mean, whatever slice and dicing you want to do in our society. I'm against all of it, by the way. I mean, I think there's something to be learned from recognizing the difference between people. And there are times of injustice because of biases and things like that. But when you go too far is when you say the nature of that person because of their race or because of their religion or because of something inherently about them, because of that, they are evil. They are inherently evil. You're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. You're doing exactly what you claim to be against. It doesn't matter if you're a minority or a majority. So, it just blows my mind that Christians were killed in school, children, 9-year-old children, and the vast majority of what I'm seeing on Twitter and on the news is about all the attacks against gay people and transgender people. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? That's all I have.